Right, our final topic is something I really want to speak on, right? So we've got this writer from The Independent called Lewis Chilton. And he starts off this, he writes for The Independent, which is a very reputable paper in the UK. But he starts off the title of the article with "Cut the clapping, Spider-Man fans, you're ruining cinema." We'll get into this. He says, it can be hard to read the room when you go into a cinema. Unless people start walking out in protest, the cinema auditorium sometimes... Who calls them auditoriums? Do you see where he's coming from? Anyway.
He's coming from the auditorium.
Auditorium sometimes has all the loaded discretion of a polling booth. In fact, do you know what? I'm not going to read this article. Listen, I'm just going to give him the gist of what he said.
Yeah, let's get to the gist.
Right. I think there's more. Yeah. If you want to read the article, you can look it up online. Lewis Chilton, Independent. You can read the article. But basically, the gist of what he was saying is when he goes to the cinema and he goes to watch a Marvel movie specifically, he does not want to hear the, "Oh my God, look it's Tobey Maguire," or "Oh my God, the portal's open and it's Andrew Garfield." Or he doesn't want to see everyone go, "Hey!" when Captain America picks up Thor's hammer in Endgame. He doesn't want to hear any of that, right? That's what he's saying. He's saying that we are ruining cinema by doing that.
Watch it at home then.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Rock. Watch it at home. Or don't come to the cinema to watch any Marvel movies. In fact, any comic book movies. Yeah? Because I'll tell you this now. Everyone that goes to watch these movies are going to do that. And they're not going to stop. And I don't want them to stop. Because as we keep saying, and we said a lot in the topics that we've covered on the show today, cinema is an experience. It's an experience. This is why I love the cinema, and I echo John Campion when he says this. It's an experience that you can't get on your TV, and it's experience that, and it's specifically with Marvel films, comic book films in general, but Marvel films in particular. It's an experience that can unite people. I'll give an example of this. I watched Endgame in LA when I was on pilot season. I managed to get a seat opening night. How I did that, I don't know. But I managed to get a seat opening night. I was sat next to a white woman who was probably middle-aged, a young white guy, another side of me who was younger than me. And then I was sat next to, in front of me was like a black guy who was around my age. And behind me, I can't remember who was behind me. So let's use that scene that this guy, Lewis Chilton, was talking about. If we, when Captain America picked up Thor's hammer, the cheer, the pop in that cinema was ridiculous. And then I had the guy to my, "Oh, did you see that? I was like, yeah. Even the woman's like, "Oh, this is fantastic. This was in the comics." I was like, she's an old woman, man. She knows about the comics.
She knows about
the
comics.
You know what I mean? But she knows about the comics. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm chatting to them. I don't know these people. This one could have been in the KKK for all I know.
But at that moment in time,
she was
right.
with you.
They were brothers in arms.
Thank you. And that's the point that I want to bring up. These kind of experiences, even for a split second in time, unites people. It unites people. And that's in a time when there's so many things that's trying to drag us apart. That's what we need. So these shared experiences, yes, you might not like hooping and hollering in the cinema, but you know what? If it brings people together, so be it.
Fight the power.
Right. It's really annoying to me that everyone wants to nitpick on these comic book films. Leon, what do you think about this?
I think he's chatting fruff. That's what he's doing. What's his name?
Lewis Chilton.
Lewis.
I think the fact that when I read that article and he started off with cinema auditoriums, we know where the man's coming from.
You know, when I hear Lewis, I think of Trading Places. You know when she goes, nobody wants your drugs here, Louis. You know, Louis. Yeah. Louis Wimthorpe III. Yeah, it's an opera. But anyway, Louis Chilton.
Oh, man.
You know, where are you living? Come on. It's a bit of fun. But, you know, what kind of a killjoy do you have to be? I don't want people clapping. Don't clap. Don't say, look at that. You know what I mean? Even we got told off the other day for talking in reactions. Look, it's my man from the Goonies. People like, oh, you can't say that.
Do you know what I mean?
You know, you can't have a genuine reaction. You can't genuinely be surprised. Nah, who employs these people?
I don't know, man.
Who? I don't know. So
it's just ridiculous.
Nobody
man.
wants your drugs here, Louis. You know what I mean?
Damien, you've read the whole article.
I went back and looked at the article. Yeah,
you schooled me. You schooled me on a couple of things on that article.
Just before I say that, I just want to say one thing. Say good night to Miss Candy. Good night, Miss Candy. When that happened during Django Unchained, the entire cinema erupted in applause.
Yeah.
Because we generally wanted that to happen, and when it did, there was a whole coming together of that was brilliant.
Yeah.
As an audience,
white, black, didn't matter.
Didn't matter. And I saw that film twice at the cinema. Once in North London, once in East London. East London had bigger applause than North London, but still, it was genuine applause, both screenings, and I still applauded both times the same. So to come out and say that, you know, that's off-putting, no, okay. You mentioned auditorium. Clearly, your mindset is the theatre. Now, we're all thespians. We're all drama trained. There is a certain social etiquette that happens in a theatre because it is live actors, and if you put them off, and it ruins the show. Hence why you switch your mobile phone off. In a cinema going experience, since day dot, it's been different. Since Star Wars, people were jumping out of their chairs. When Darth Vader turned around and went, "Luke, I am your father." Don't tell me there wasn't one person in mind that went,
Exactly.
Them people was dropping their cigarette in there because man used to smoke.
people were
The
carrying
B&H.
Yeah, that was true.
Yeah, they were smoking.
Back in the day.
He's white.
Dot com was in there, 100.
Yeah.
But no, it was like, and even like when Exorcist came out, people were having an Alien 1. People had heart attacks and were like carrying and were screaming to the nines. You couldn't do it in the theatre, in the auditorium. Really.
Yeah.
But one thing he goes on to say in the article, and I can kind of, it seems like a little bit of a loose connection, or it's like he's trying hard, but he says, applauding a smug nod to some other franchise isn't some natural, spontaneous, or even particularly human reaction. It's performance. It's often just a way of saying, I got the reference. It's one thing for an audience to get rowdy in the days of boozy midnight B movies, or even for cheesy pop like Mamma Mia or Bohemian Rhapsody. It's another thing entirely when you're stone cold sober, consuming the most mainstream, corporized entertainment on earth, something which is treated with deathly seriousness by millions of fans. So I can, even then, you're at a Marvel film. You're not sitting there pulling the film apart for, you know, how intricate certain parts of the acting were. Yes, the acting is good, but you're there to have an experience. I mentioned earlier, it's a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
That's what you're there for.
But even sorry, let me just cut you there quickly. But listen. What he needs to understand is that even me, as a comic book head who goes to these movies to watch them, these are still adaptations of the comics. So they're not going to happen exactly how the comics written them.
No, of course.
There's many, there's the reason why Thanos, for instance, in the MCU does what he does is completely different to why he does it in the comics.
Yeah, and you mentioned something earlier, like the moment that Cap picks up Thor's hammer in Endgame, like, we know it happens in the comics. Did we know they were good at the movie?
No.
So when it happened, it was a general raps of applause. Yes, it is inferred because we know that happens in the comics and that's there as a reference point. But still, when it happened, that was a genuine, spontaneous reaction. You know, and it's just like, I mean, we're not talking about where people go and watch the Scream movies and they're throwing popcorn in the air and going mental for 10 minutes and you can't actually hear the dialogue. That's stupid. I want to punch you in the face.
Yeah.
I won't go and say it from you people. But when it comes to a movie like this, it's like, you're going to have that, wow, did you see that? It's Tom Holland, it's Andrew Garfield. it's going to happen. That's why, if you noticed, they didn't have any dialogue for a good 10 seconds when he walked through the portal because they knew that reaction was coming. So it's just like he takes his time walking through, they react, they don't say nothing. It's like it's almost like that kind of hold for the applause or hold for the
even now that you say that, even that scene where Cap gets the hammer, there was that
he pauses before he says the line.
And then you see the music, and he's looking, and he's got the hammer. There's nothing being said.
It's almost like a wink to the audience. It's like it's coming. We know
it's fan service. Yeah,
it's fan service.
It is.
So yeah, I think he's being a little bit too smug with these comments. Sorry, Louis, but like if you want to quote the auditorium, I agree with you. That's for the auditorium. That's for theatre. You go there with a certain social etiquette, and you have that. These films, they have there's a certain audience that go and see it, or there's a huge audience that go and see it, but there's a certain
it's a different experience. It's a different experience to theatre. Theatre, if you were talking about theatre 100%, I agree with you.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. But we're not talking about theatre, we're talking about cinema. Yeah, and we're talking about specifically Marvel movies.
Or
right?
certain films like Django.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, movies that... Because I'll take your point, even in Get Out.
Yeah.
When
he got out,
right, and the policeman came. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
the
people in the cinema.
And then his friend came out. Yeah. We were like, hey,
yeah.
Like everyone did that, and I watched that in LA. I watched that in the UK. Both audiences had that reaction. So come on, man. Like if you want to be, as Leon said, if you want to be a killjoy, no problem. Watch it at home. Watch it.
And just to your point, you get the reverse of it. Now I've got a good friend of mine. He runs a theatre over in Mexico. So John Vergara, if you ever watch this, hello to you. But we went to see a movie years ago with a guy from Fast and Furious, Paul Walker. It was a surfing movie, like a heist one with sharks and stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
And there was a bit in the film where there's a continuity error. First of all, what continuity is, if you're watching the show, it's a part where something happens and it's disjointed and shouldn't have happened in the film and it doesn't connect. So an extra walked past the scene twice. And in the middle of the cinema, and John is very much reformed. You switch your mobile phone off when you're in the cinema. You don't when you're in the theatre. You do not talk to the person next to you. The continuity error happened. In the middle of the movie, John went, "What the hell was that?" And that was his natural reaction because there was a technical issue in the movie.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, completely different end of the spectrum. This is something you didn't want to see, but it happened. Cinema has that. It evokes that reaction from you sometimes. Yeah. Whether either end of it is a good thing or a bad thing. I remember seeing the Pacino and De Niro film they did with 50 Cent, which was a pile of garbage.
Oh, absolutely.
And there was all of me and 4 other people in the cinema. In fact, one guy had his iPad out and he was looking at porn at the bottom row. And I was like, dude, switch your iPad off. But literally, like, it was a point where the film was so bad that literally me and my friend Ferhat and Ashley were just like, what have you done? And we vocalized that during the film. We're like, what are you doing to your careers? I mean, there was barely one in the cinema, so it helped. But cinema does have that sometimes that natural reaction to come out of you. Because you are immersed in it.
Exactly. You know? It's an experience. And this is what this guy, Louis doesn't seem to understand. Especially, and we've named other films, so it's not just comic book films, but especially when it comes to comic book films. And even guys like me who were immersed in the comics, we know these are adaptations of the comics, so they're not going to come out exactly how. So I'm not, as we've mentioned again with Thor's hammer, I'm not expecting that to happen. I know that happens in the comics, but I'm not expecting that for them to put it in the film. So the fact that they put it in the film, everyone who's in the who knows the comics, gonna be like, yeah. Even the people who don't know the comics but have seen the run up of films. We'll remember that he tried to lift it and moved it a little. Do you remember? In Age of Ultron? And then we'll see that he's got it and be like, oh, it's a natural fucking reaction. Sorry to swear. It's a natural reaction, right? So Louis, we are. You know. So Louis Chilton, fix up, please.
That's right.
Right.
Nobody wants your drugs here.
This man loves Trading Places.
I still see Trading Places.
Yeah, he needs to see Trading Places. But anyway, what do you guys think of this Louis Chilton's article? And do you back us in our arguments against it? Let us know what you think in the comments down below. So, with that being said, the show is over. So, with that being said, Damien, Where can the people holler you at?
You can find me. Not
You
trying to
said
rip
there
off
was
any-
rolling on the...
No, you can find me
Do
on
that
Damien
was
Ashley. You can find me on Twitter, Damien Ashley Act, on Instagram, Damien Ashley, and you can find me here every Tuesday, every Thursday, and any day that I'm awake and not working on the show.
And before I even ask, I don't know what's gonna happen.
You can find me over there. Over there. I'm right here. Where can we find you?
Well, you can find me at LarryOlubamiwo on Twitter or at LarryOlubamiwo on Instagram. And as these two have reminded me, we will be having the gymrat pack either Insta or Twitter.
Yeah.
At some point.
Watch out for that one.
Yeah, we'll be having that. at some
Damien's going to
point.
make that.
Yeah, I actually will.
Because he's the smart one.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Please look at our IMDBs and look at what we've been in, what we're hoping to be in. And we'll see you soon.
Which is a real big thing as well to our subscribers. Thank you for supporting the show.
Oh man.
And if you haven't subscribed and you got this far in the video, please do hit the subscribe button, smash a like, and if you are subscribing but not clicked onto notifications, please ring the bell so you get all that lovely goodness of when our new shows pop on, so you can catch our latest episode. Ring Leon's bell. And they also will give you a musical interlude anytime you ring it. Okay?
Yeah.
So ring the bell, get a song from Leon. That's what we're here
That's
for.
it.
There you go.
Yeah.
We've got some juicy content coming up to you throughout the Christmas period, because we won't be taking a break, will we?
No. Gymrat pack don't stop.
No. I'm here tomorrow. I won't be here next week. But I'm here tomorrow.
Yeah, he's got a few things he's got to do
Yeah.
with his son and stuff, but we will be here.
We will be here.
We'll be.
He'll be in his Christmas pudding.
I'll be with my pudding.
Pudding.
So from all of us.
Adios.